If you clicked on this video, I'm going to use my incredible powers of deduction to assume that you're wondering, how can I fix my posture at my desk? You want to go from sitting and working at your desk with this rolled posture to this perfect upright posture. And you know what? That's going to help so much of your pain throughout your workday. And you're in the right place, because this is part one of a 3-part series all about getting better posture at your desk. Now, each week, or with each video, there's going to be new routines, and this first routine is only 7 simple exercises that'll take about 8 minutes or so. We're going to be utilizing a yoga block, a yoga strap, your office chair, and a wall. There's only 4 things you're going to need for this first routine. Now, this routine is released on April 17th, 2022. The next one is going to be released 2 weeks later on May 1st. And the third part is going to be released on May 15th. Those are all Sundays. I want to be able to help you prepare for your work week each new Sunday. Now, these are 2 weeks apart because I want you doing each of these routines for 2 weeks before you progress to the next one. And these are short routines. You can do them during a break on your workday. Do them 1 to 2 times throughout the day. If you're having other problems and you want to use postural therapy to address those problems in the morning or in the evening, I have other routines that are great for workers, desk workers, focusing on neck pain and carpal tunnel pain. They're in the cards in the description down below. Now, I am going to go ahead and do a super fast forward walkthrough of this routine. I'm going to record the timer on my screen so you can see how long it takes, and I'm going to hit start right now. Okay, so that took me right around 8 minutes to do, 7 minutes, 52 seconds. Let me go ahead and stop that screen recording and take a sip of water. You notice that at a few points, if you were looking closely, I was holding up this, then this. Now, that's because we are going to be tailoring this routine to your sitting posture to a certain degree. What do I mean by that? Well, let me move the camera down so you can see my legs, and we'll talk about that. There are a few different posture in the legs, or posture conditions in the legs, that we see in people. We're going to be talking about 2 of those today. Now, a lot of people are going to, when they sit, have their hips abducted to a large degree. Other people, and their ankles are going to kind of go in, the edges of their feet are going to be on the ground. Other people are going to be the opposite. Their knees fall together, their ankles go out, and they're sitting on their feet are sitting on the inside edge of the feet. So we're going to be addressing that using either the block or the strap. On the second exercise and on the 7th exercise, the last exercise, you're going to choose which one of these to use based on your individual sitting posture. So if your knees tend to fall out when you sit, I want you using the block on that 2nd and that 7th exercise. We're going to be strengthening the hip adductors here. If your knees tend to fall together, we're going to be using the strap on that 2nd and 7th exercise. On the 5th exercise, no matter which ways your knees go, I want you using this block, okay? So I'm going to do a full walkthrough of this entire exercise now so that you can do it along with me until you get the hang of it. There are a few fine points about how you perform these exercises that I want to make sure you're doing properly to get the maximum benefit. The first exercise we call a modified ankle sequence. And what does that mean? Now, it's modified because for the typical exercise, you would use one of these slant boards. If you have a slant board and you want to do the full ankle sequence, go ahead and check out my video that I've made about ankle sequence. You can find that in the cards or the description down below. But I'm going to assume that at your office, you might not have one of these slant boards, so we're going to do the modified version. So with the modified version, I would go ahead and put the strap around your knees first. Keep it real loose though, because we use the block first. I don't want you pushing against that strap for this first part. For this first part, we're going to sit on the chair, kind of towards the edge, and look at my upper body. I'm not sitting in good posture. I want you to intentionally slouch. I want that head forward of the shoulders. I want your shoulders rounded. I want that C curve in your spine. And what we're going to do from here is squeeze this block with 25 to 50% of your strength. And from here, while I'm squeezing that block and slouching, I'm going to push up with the balls of my feet, lifting the heels off the ground in a slow, controlled manner. And I'm going to do 10 of these. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to take the block out, set it to the side. I'm going to tighten this strap so that my knees are hip width apart. Now also look at my feet. My big toes are angling slightly inward so that the middle of my foot is pointing forward. Now I'm going to assume that same posture in the upper body, that slouch posture. I'm going to situate my feet hip width apart. I'm going to again push off the ground with the balls of my feet while putting 25 to 50% of the pressure on this strap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, again, I'm going to go back to the block. So, loosen the strap so it's not putting any pressure on your legs. Place the block between your knees. Assume that same sitting posture, but look what happens in the feet this time. Now, I'm going to keep my heels on the ground. I'm going to raise my toes off the ground, maintaining that slouched C-shaped spine, C-shape in the spine, and feet hip width apart, middle toes angle slightly in. Lift up the toes for 1, 2, applying 25% to 50% of your strength on this block. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, again, put the block to the side, tighten that strap so that your knees are hip width apart, slouch in the upper body, feet hip width apart, big toes angle slightly in, medium pressure on this strap, and we're going to again lift up the toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's it for the first exercise, modified ankle sequence. Now this is preparing our ankles for the changes we're going to be making in the knees and the hips. So this second exercise, this is where I said we need to choose block or strap. Do your knees fall out? Do your knees fall in? If your knees fall in or fall out like mine tend to do, I'm going to use this block. If I was using the strap, it would just be strap around the knees and do the block and press against the strap instead of squeezing the block. Now from here, let me angle that camera upwards so you can see, because this is more of an upper body exercise. Now I'm going to squeeze that block. I want my feet again hip width apart, just like in the first exercise. I'm going to go ahead and interlace these fingers, palms out. Now look what I do from here. I'm going to lift my arms overhead, but notice how my neck moves with the arms. I don't want the arms going up by themselves. You go up wherever the arms or the neck stop, that's where you stop. Eventually, you'll be able to go higher up. And we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Now we are eliminating compensations in the lower body while promoting this thoracic extension in the upper spine and lumbar flexion in the lower spine. And that is going to help us get to that upright sitting posture that is going to help so much with pain throughout the day. And notice how I have my elbows locked in this position. That's 30 seconds. When I come out in the exact same way. I do not want to see you just release from here and go down. We always come out in the same way we go in, just like that. Now for the third exercise, we don't need the block or the strap, but I do need some water. I'm starting in this normal sitting posture, and this one I am sitting up straight. I've got my shoulders, I got my head above the shoulders, shoulders above the hips, got that natural S curve in the spine. From here, I'm going to make sure that I have my feet hip width apart. I'm going to take one ankle and place that bony part of the outside of the ankle right above my knee. I'm going to press down actively towards the floor with this knee. I'm going to hold that for 30 seconds. And just let your arms rest wherever they're comfortable here. I don't want you pushing down on the knee though. Your hip abductors on the outside of the thigh should be doing that. Now what we're doing here is, for you folks with those knees that fall apart, we are getting pelvic stability, bilateral pelvic stability, and we're working on bilateral abduction of those hips to get those both legs working the same way. If you have the internally rotated, or the legs that fall in, that's 30 seconds there, we are working on getting the ability for them to go out in the same way. So again, I'm going to switch to the other side of the body. I'm going to place that bony part of the ankle right on top of the knee. I want my lower leg here neutral. I'm going to hit repeat on my timer. I'm going to be pressing towards the ground with the left hip abductors here. I'm going to hold this for 30 seconds. This one is called assisted hip lift. I forgot to say the name of the other one, didn't I? That's sitting overhead extension. Now, I just want to make sure that when you're doing this exercise, you're maintaining that C curve in the spine. Notice I'm not slouching forward over time. I am keeping my upper body in an extended position to the best of your ability. Might be hard at first, but it'll get easier over time if you do these every workday like you're supposed to be doing. So that's 30 seconds for this exercise. Now we're going to go to standing quad stretch. So this is where we're going to be utilizing the wall here. You'll be able to see what's going on in my lower body now with the camera there, I believe. So upper body, I'm standing in an upright posture to the best of your ability. First thing I'm going to do is place my foot on this armrest, utilizing the chair in multiple ways here. Now I want the knees to be in one plane here to the best of your ability. The stretch really doesn't come from here. I don't want you trying to get this as high as possible. Focus more on having the knees in the right place. Where the stretch comes in is from flexing the pelvis here. Do you see the difference? Here's a kind of neutral stance. I'm actively flexing the pelvis, and that's going to really drive the stretch. So this is going to be 30 seconds in this position. Now, I have my hands against the wall. That's just for stability. I don't want you leaning into the wall. You can just put your fingertips barely against the wall so that you don't fall forward or backwards. It gives you a kind of sense of touch and a sense of neutral for the upper body. Keeping that pelvis flexed throughout the entire exercise. And there's 30 seconds in that position. So now I'm going to do the same with the left leg. Move over just a bit. Place the left leg up on the arm of the chair. Make sure my knees are as close to vertical or horizontal alignment here as I can. And restart my timer for 30 seconds. Again, I don't want that pelvis in neutral. I want it actively flexed. So you feel that stretch deep in the quadriceps here. Now we're promoting pelvic stability here, and we're also promoting bilateral function of the two hamstrings in each leg. It's a quad stretch, but we're not working just on the quads. There's a lot going on here. So there's 30 seconds in that position. Next is double heel raises. This one, you're going to the block regardless of what's going on with your legs, whether they're out like this or in like this. That's because we're going to be strengthening the hip flexors here. So we're going to sit just like we did earlier. We're going to have, for the overhead extension stretch, I want your feet hip width apart. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what's going on in the feet. Now I've got this arch in the lower back here, sitting up in a straight position. Now I am going to squeeze this block with about 25 to 50%, just medium pressure, and look what happens in the legs. I lift up But unlike that first exercise, I am not pushing from the balls of my feet. I'm lifting from the hips, deep in the hips here, to strengthen the hip flexors. And I want you to imagine a piece of paper underneath the toes. At any point during this exercise, if there was a piece of paper there, I could come and rip it right out with zero effort. The toes are just barely resting on the ground there. All the work comes from deep in the hip flexors at the top of the thigh bones here. We're going to do 3 sets of 10 here. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice these are slow, controlled motions. 8. I'm letting both heels raise evenly, and I'm letting both heels strike the ground at the same time. That's 1 set of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the second set of 10. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you may not be able to get through all 3 sets of 10 at first. That's okay. Work up to what you can. This is a very good hip flexor strengthening exercise. Might be hard if you haven't used those hip flexors properly in quite some time. So the 6th exercise is going to be sitting cats and dogs. You're probably familiar with the normal cats and dogs while sitting on your hands and knees. We can do this in a sitting position as well. This is going to work to propagate those changes we've made in the hips up through the spine to the head while promoting this upright sitting posture. So it's a great exercise for what we're trying to do here. I'm going to turn to the side, show you the starting position. I want the knees and the feet hip width apart. I want you to look up towards the ceiling and have an accentuated curve in your whole spine, this accentuated S curve. And I'm going to take in a big breath and I'm going to roll my pelvis forward. All of this movement initiates in the hips and pelvis. And I'm going to start rolling it back, 1 vertebra at a time. Imagine a little rock climber climbing up your spine. As he hits each new vertebrae, that part of that vertebrae should start curving forward into flexion. So, 1. And then once I get to this position, see how I'm in this accentuated curved spine. Now I'm going to roll the hips forward and begin reestablishing the extension of the spine, 1 vertebra at a time, until my head is looking all the way up. I'm going to be breathing in at that point. So we're going to do 9 more of these. And always initiating this work in the hips and pelvis. That's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. So, now notice what I was not doing there. I was not just going like this and like this. That's a different movement. See, that's forward and back movement. No, this is all originating from the hips like a wave. Imagine if you get a rope that's along the ground, you need to give it one of these. You see that wave propagate along the floor? I want that same type of wave motion propagating up your spine. So that's sitting cats and dogs. Now, for the last exercise, we're going to a standing position. And again, we choose the block or the strap. If your knees go out, block. If your knees fall in, strap. My knees tend to fall out. I'm going to use the block here. We're going to push this chair aside and move up the camera. Okay. So, your feet are going to be slightly more than hip width apart, just with how the block situates between your legs for most people. I want your big toes angling slightly in, 5 to 10 degrees in, so the middle of that foot is straight ahead. Now, I'm going to use 2 different hand positions here. Fingers splayed wide, fists balled tight. The first part of this exercise, you put your arms out, you tuck those shoulder blades down and together. I don't want to see those shoulder blades rising up towards the ears, tucked in together. Now, I'm going to do these forward arm circles here. I'll show them from both angles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do 5 in each angle for you. We're going to do 10 total with the fingers splayed, palms down. Forward rotations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to ball those fists tightly. Forward motions again, shoulder blades tucked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to go back to those fingers splayed wide, palms facing the ceiling this time. I've rotated my arms externally. I'm going to be doing backward circles. Tuck those shoulder blades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Backward circles you'll see. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to ball those fists tightly. I'm going to place them so the palms are facing the ceiling. Tuck those shoulder blades, backward circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tucking those shoulder blades, backward circles. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now, took a lot longer to go through and explain all those than it did when I was just going through them without having to do all the talking. So once you get the hang of this should only take about 8 minutes to do. You can do that on a coffee break, right? You can probably do that while your coffee's brewing, then go have your coffee afterwards. Works out great. So week 2 comes out the second routine for this comes out May 1st, 2022. Part 3 comes out May 15th, 2022. These are all Sundays, so you can practice them on Sunday and be ready to do them throughout the week. Like I said, do these 1 to 2 times throughout your workday. And if you're having other problems, check out my other videos for a menu or a routine that you could do in the morning or in the evening besides that. So these are all geared to fix this slouching posture, get you back up to this. Do each one for at least 2 weeks until it gets easier, then progress to the next. If you want to be sure to catch those other ones, make sure you hit the subscription and the bell button down below so you're notified as soon as they come out. If you want to do this as a walkthrough, I recommend hitting that thumbs up button because that is going to save that video to your liked videos playlist, and you can do this full walkthrough when you do it during your breaks throughout your workday. So, my name is John Clark with the Posture Pain Connection. I hope you have a functional and pain-free day, but if you don't, be sure to contact me.